I mean, I hit the target.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bullseye channel. I hope you're doing well. Today, you are going to get your second feature-length video with Keith Sanderson. So today, as I'm recording this, I just got back from the Olympic Training Center and things did not go as planned. But just kind of like 50-yard test. If we shoot it, we score it. So I finished up a day of shooting their September PTO, which is a monthly match that they hold where they shoot most of the Olympic disciplines for shooting. And so I shot air in the morning, and then I shot sport, which I've never fired before, which is a very interesting sport. In the Olympics, it's only shot by women, but here you can shoot it as a male. And then I fired my second ever rapid fire pistol event. And then after that, Keith, and he had let me know this earlier in the morning, said, hey, I want to do a post-match analysis with you. I want to watch you. He shot as well. I think he shot quite well. He didn't seem to think so. And he sat down with me and helped me for an hour. And so we recorded that, and you're going to see it here. So just like the interview, just get in there, get comfortable. I'll see if I can get the, like the little thumb or the little chapters in here so you can move around the video. And lastly, obviously, we always say on the Bullseye channel that we have the best friends in the world. You would not be viewing this if Keith was not generous. And so he was generous, overly generous with me this weekend. And vis-a-vis, he's also generous for you because it was his idea to film it. And so we are all the beneficiaries of his generosity and his kindness. And so let's take a minute to say thank you very much, Keith Sanderson. And then lastly, of course, I'm going to leave you with 3 rules of life. Rule 1, don't be a jerk. Rule 2, take care of yourself. Rule 3, help other people. And as rules know that you don't know what's going on in someone else's mind, they don't know what's going on in your mind. Be kind and courteous when dealing with other people. Enjoy everything.
You're interviewing me now.
I'm interviewing you. The tables have turned, my friend. So you just finished. This is not your first rapid fire match.
No.
Or was it your first sport pistol match though?
Yes.
Not your first airgun match.
No.
So I don't care about airgun. That's like slow fire. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Tell me about sport pistol.
Confusing. Like just the, so much of the match when you shoot in the match seems to be the way that the course of fire is handled, the different commands that are given, when you're able to load, what constitutes a loaded gun seems a little bit different. You can't put it on the table. So I had
well, it's similar to rapid fire in that regard. So for people who don't know, sport pistol is it's divided into 2 parts. There's a precision stage and a rapid fire stage. The precision stage is 30 rounds of 1 round per minute, basically. It's not exactly time like that. You have 5 minutes to shoot 5 shots.
Yeah.
And you have a cider series first of 5 shots in 5 minutes. And then normally in a World Cup or at a high level event like the Olympics or something, that'd be 1 day. And then you come back on the second day for your rapid fire stage. But domestically, in a lot of smaller matches, we'll do it all in 1 day. And then you have your rapid fire, which is 1 shot in 3 seconds, and you do that 5 times. And I say 1 shot in 3 seconds, I mean your arm has to come down to that 45-degree angle or lower, and then you have 3 seconds to come up and shoot 1 shot. Sounds easy enough. The difference is for precision, for those who are bullseye shooters, your 10 ring is basically the size of the X ring.
Yeah.
But the black is the size of the 8 ring compared to like bullseye.
Yeah. I think the weird thing about sport is that like the only time I've ever seen it, it's always the final, right? Like on TV or whatever, which is just the rapid fire portion.
Which is the black is the size of the 5 ring, and the scoring rings are roughly the same size as bullseye scoring rings.
Yeah, and I guess I never realized that there is 3 slow fires in succession on the precision, and there's no like going down and scoring and pasting.
Electronic targets, yeah.
Right, so you're shooting 3 slow fires in pretty quick time.
Well, 2-minute breaks in between.
Well, yeah, it didn't feel like 2 minutes, and so your arm gets pretty tired, especially after shooting air pistol in the morning. And
that was rough. Like shooting all 3 in 1 day is.
I would not do that. I will not do that again.
Probably harder than a 1 day 2,700, even though it's less rounds. Is it less rounds? No, it's not less rounds.
No.
But it seems like it's more energy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially between like. You got all of the, with rapid, it wears your arm out because there's all like the, prep time, right? So
Right.
you end up lifting the gun quite a bit.
The dry fire parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically doubles or triples.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of times that you
So
shoot.
sport pistol rapid fire, which is the same as, so sport pistol and center fire pistol the same. The only difference is that sport pistol is 22 and center fire is like 32 or 38.
Yeah.
I've always contended that sport pistol and center fire rapid fire are the physically most demanding of the shooting sports, because if you're doing it right, it's a minute hold and drill. It's a minute up, and then, or I'm sorry, you're holding for attention, and you settle, then come down to a 45-degree angle for 7 seconds, up for 3 seconds, down for 7, up for 3, which is a minute.
Yeah.
Plus whatever time you had, so it's a little bit longer than a minute, or whatever you're settled on in the beginning. Then a 2-minute break roughly, and in that 2-minute break you're going to have a dry fire period, where you could shoot the dry fire. I would oftentimes, back in the day, I would not, because I started getting tired. I'm like, well, I'm going to save that energy for when I'm going to try to shoot 10s. And you're doing that 30 times or 35 times with the sighters.
Yeah. I was surprised how, I mean, you mentioned the size of the 10 ring, like how hard it felt to shoot a 10.
With the little lift.
Well, not even with the lift. I'm talking the precision. Like I was like,
yeah,
like,
what's an X?
when will this damn bullet find the frickin' 10?
Probably when you align the sights. I mean, I'm just saying that it does discriminate against not aligning your sights very well. It's hard. It's why it's an Olympic event. It's not the Olympics aren't meant to be easy.
Yeah.
So that's sport pistol, which isn't really that's just a fun thing, because it's not a men's event.
Yeah.
And you still identify as a man, I assume.
Indeed.
So okay. So now let's talk about the only shooting sport event in the Olympics that is a men's only event.
Right.
Men's 25-meter rapid fire pistol. What are your thoughts on that? This is your second time shooting it?
It's my second time shooting it, and I did not exceed the points that I got the first time shooting it after a month of training. So I'm processing that inside my head right now. I felt like I was more prepared. I was certainly more prepared for it. It's funny, like coming in and not doing as well as I had anticipated that I would, or had hoped for, or had planned to. It's rapid fire is easily, of the three, rapid fire is the most fun. It is the most enjoyable to shoot. And so, like, even now, everybody's packing up.
Probably the most frustrating too.
Well, yeah,
it certainly can be.
So I think, I mean, like, even now, after shooting all day, like, I would shoot the rest of the ammo in my box if I could, right? Because it's that much fun. And I think that was the thing about it. And I don't know. I mean, I was probably thinking too much during my prep, and like, having.
Certainly you were.
Yeah. I certainly was not like absolving myself.
So if you imagine, like, I was teaching you how to drive a stick shift car, right? The first time you're driving it, you're thinking about, to move my foot this way, and I have to move this, and I got to, not getting into double clutch and like, racing stuff, but like, it's difficult. It's a lot of stuff to process.
Right.
And after a while, you get, I'm really good at this little thing. Doesn't take a lot of energy, mental energy, for me to work the clutch with my foot, and then it doesn't take a lot of mental energy for me to move the shifter into second gear or whatever. I look at shooting a lot like that. There's all these things in the beginning, these building blocks that are, most of them are pretty easy. Mm-hmm. They're just hard to do all at the same time.
Yeah.
Really, really hard to do all at the same time. But if you can build it up to the point where, like, this is a habit, where I can do this thing, and then it still requires some mental energy, but not a lot, right? Then you can focus more on this thing, and then you can focus more on this thing. And then eventually you get to where, you need to really try to align your sights.
Yeah, well, and I think that the thing about it to that, I mean, there's so many different components, right? You have your ability to align the sights, your ability to hold consistently, your ability to lift from a 45-degree ready into a 10 ring shot, and then to say nothing of the fact that you need to traverse 5 different targets in a specified period of time. Even that's broken down into, so the first thing you need to do, so you have your lift, right? So you have to be able to, smooth, soft start, smooth, in the middle, and then glide in or whatever is that normal lift, and then you stop, and then you have the transition where you have what I call the run, where you're going left and right. Well, the first part is just being able to move left and right without going in an arc. Yeah.
I'm sure you've noticed that, where at first you have this arc, and you have to get your body used to just moving where it traverses, where it's level. and then the ability to traverse, level, and be able to stop precisely on a target, not overshoot it, not undershoot it, not go up or down, but be able to stop on a target and hold, and then go to the next target, hold, and then you add in, well, I'm going to do that with having good firm grip. Now I'm going to do that with having my trigger finger moving, and then I'm going to add in, I'm going to have a little bit of recoil.
Yeah.
Which is this artificial thing that disturbs sight alignment. So it's going to mess all that up a little bit, and then you got to like recover all that on the next one. Then we're going to do all of that in a certain period of time.
Well, in a certain period of time, like the 4-second string is spicy, right?
Yes.
And it was interesting because like I felt like I wasn't giving the 8-second string the time that it deserved, and so I was moving a little too quickly. And then 6, I was pretty much, I didn't save any on 6, and then 4, I think I saved 3 shots. Yeah, the 4 seconds went quick. I was surprised.
It's fast.
It's very fast.
It's with an electronic trigger. Emil Milev and I talked about this. It was really hard to dry fire a 4-second series and have your shots off in 4 seconds. Just dry firing. Actually, we both thought it was harder to do it dry firing than what it was with live fire. Because the live fire gives you a little bit of recoil boost to the next target, right? If you learn how to use that a certain way. But yeah, it is. What's funny about 4 seconds is if you watch somebody who's really good, it looks like they have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Like when someone's shooting well, you look at it like, oh wow, look at them. Hey, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, that's what I remember looking and thinking that.
Well, this morning I was like pumping myself up in the car, or not this morning, between air pistol and sport pistol. And so I was just happened to be watching the 2017 ISSF Rapid Fire final at the World Cup. And I was just like, I need to do that. That's what I need to do. And it did amaze me about how, like, for the most part, for the 4-second string, it didn't seem like anyone was rushing.
Well, it was World Cup final, the final at World Cup final.
Well, yeah.
So it's the top 6 in the world for that particular year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the point. If you're doing everything right, it looks like, they're relaxed. They got plenty of time. Look at that, and they can still shoot a 50. I mean, not all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody shoots a 50 all the time. But in practice, it can be pretty hard.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like now that I'm just like running it through my head, that I don't feel like I did nearly as good here today as I do when I dry fire at home. Like when I dry fire at home, like I feel like my lift is good, and I'm moving between them. Like I don't know, just something about.
What's funny about that is,
today.
I don't mean this as a criticism, but maybe it is. With me, it's the opposite.
I'm strong enough.
I always feel like my dry fire is way worse than my live fire.
Maybe I'm not being as much of a.
But I need
to be more of the heavy.
Yeah, the first phase, heavy drill instructor,
yeah,
yelling in both of my ears at the same time whenever I'm dry firing.
Yeah,
I'm always I'm always like, especially lately. I say lately, I mean like past like probably decade.
Yeah.
I have not been critical enough of myself in dry fire. From the way, I mean, that's not the only way to do things, but the way that I have done things and been successful in the past was I was super critical in dry fire. And then the challenge is to drop all that criticism when you put rounds in the barrel.
Yeah.
Like when rounds are in the gun and you're shooting, especially in a match, there's no time for judgments.
Yeah.
There's no time to call. If you call your shot at your first shot, you don't have it up. By the time you get to your 5th shot, there's no more mental capacity left to align the sight. There's no more mental capacity to align the sights if you call your shot after 1 call. But if you try to remember like 4 calls, that's ridiculous. So calling your shots is out the window. Any types of criticisms or judgments, those are for dry fire.
Yeah.
The discipline and the challenge is to not have any of that when you're shooting a match.
Well, you said yesterday you need to be like the chaplain.
Yeah. So when you're
gives you a little bit of candy, maybe like a peanut butter sandwich.
Right. When you're dry firing and training, you're the heavy drill instructor. When you're shooting a match, you're the chaplain.
Yeah.
That's where, which honestly, there's been a lot of matches where I prayed like, oh God, please let it be in there, and it might be in there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess I need to devote some time to thinking about how do I plan moving forward, right? Like what training do I do when I pick up the gun for dry fire, until my next PTO.
So we can backtrack a little bit on that. Like the first thing. The last thing I'd work on before, if you don't have a bank of 5 targets that are properly spaced.
Yeah, I don't.
If they aren't properly spaced, there's no reason to do it. I don't think. I don't think there's any positive training to be had if the targets aren't at
You
the
would
right
just
height
work on
and the
a
right
single
and the right
target
spacing.
for live fire.
I would work for live fire. I'd work on a single target. I mean, it's not hard to build a bank
Right.
and have the target spaced yourself on like coroplast or cardboard or something. I did that when I was in K-Bay.
Yeah.
It wasn't that hard to do. It's not that expensive. Or you could build one that's reduced size for like 15 yards or feet or whatever the reduced size ones are. You could do that too. I've never shot on reduced targets, but Milev did a lot and was successful. But the first thing I would do is get a shot timer, which I think you already have, right? And shoot just all on one target. And if you can't shoot 5 10s in 4 seconds on one target, well, you ain't going to do it on 5 targets, right?
Yeah.
So just get where you can do it on one target, and first you can do it on 8 seconds in one target, and then push your way to 6 seconds, and then work on 4. And what you'll find is your body will adapt to the recoil a certain way, and after like a week or two, and there's like 2 weeks is this magic number in shooting. For like if I was to adjust your grip, I'm gonna say it's gonna take 2 weeks to like figure it out to see if it works right or not. But 2 weeks is this magic number I have found. But if you're doing that after like a week or two, you'll notice like your recoil will start to get a lot better. It'll be like critically damped, where the sights will come in and out of alignment, or they'll come with recoil. They'll be misaligned, and they'll come back into alignment like all by themselves.
Yeah.
And you want to get to that point.
Okay.
It's very much like in bullseye, and I used to not respect this a lot, like when I was talking to new shooters, but in bullseye, when you're shooting short line, there's been times I shot 10Xs where I was looking at the corner of the repair center. Because my recoil recovery was so good, and my natural point of aim for one target was like so good. It hasn't been like that in a long time, because I haven't shot a lot of bullseye.
Yeah.
When I say a long time, I mean like 15 years or something. In the times I've done really well, I did well in slow fire because then I have time to push things in. But having that kind of like come back to center thing, that will happen with rapid fire too. It's a lot harder on 5 targets in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
But you get it to happen on one target first, and then when you come to multiple targets, it gets easier. So if you combine the live fire training on just one target with the shot timer, where you're critical, of your times, like you do the times right, and you do your lift properly,
Yeah.
and you're doing all the right things, like trying to align your sights, keeping the trigger moving, and things like that. And you get where you're good at that, and you're dry firing on multiple targets, which you should be doing before you do that too.
Yeah.
But but with that as well, then I think that's a pretty good training plan that's capable of getting you to like the 570s even.
Do you?
You can't laugh at that. I mean, this is like your second match.
Yeah.
It seems astronomically high,
It
but
does.
It's not.
Do you? So if you're using your shot timer, right? I set a par time like when I'm dry firing, right?
Right.
What would you set it at? Like I've seen a lot of shooters today, and their first shot, for the 4 second series, it's usually
Shooters in here today or shooters at a World Cup?
shooters in here today.
Okay, don't look at shooters in here.
Okay.
Look at shooters at a World Cup.
So if you're training for, would you adjust your par time on your shot timer from 1.7 to 1.6?
So I had it. Short answer is yes, but to
Or would you just
how
pick
I would set up
one
the
and
shot
it
timer is I would have it set the way I had it set up before is I would have it where I'd press the button, would be attention, click, and then 7 seconds later it would beep, and, that would be when the lights would turn green, right? And then I had it, I think it was at 1.63 or 1.64 seconds. After that it'd beep again. Okay. And that was my cue to shoot. So it takes 1/10 of a second for the bullet to leave your barrel to hit the target.
Yeah.
Right? That's how long the flight time is, give or take a couple millionths of a second. So if you're shooting the shot at 1.65, it's hitting the target at 1.75, which is like the international standard of the top shooters, is like low 1.7s.
Even a 4 second series.
Well, only in a 4 second series. In a 6 second series, it's longer than that. In an 8 second series, it's longer than that. But we're talking about just for the 4 second series, which is the hardest one. So if you'll slow down fine all by yourself. You don't have to worry about trying to slow down. You can slow down for like 8 seconds. But speeding up for like 4 seconds is the harder thing. So have your shot timer set like 1 point. I had it set, maybe for you it's 1.6 or something. But whatever that number is, you at least have 1/10 of a second, plus maybe another 0.5 or 1/10 below that of what you want your target, what you want it to hit the target at. So for me, I want to hit the target at like low 1/8 would be really good for me. Still slow internationally, but for me that's a really good time.
Yeah.
So I would have my shot timer set at 1.63, 1.64, something like that. And then when I did that, my first shots, when I was training with that consistently, my first shots in World Cups were very consistent.
Okay.
So that really helps out. Now it's not just getting that first shot off and getting it where it's a 10. That's not good enough. That's just one 10, and you got 4 more to worry about.
Yeah.
It's being able to do that and still have the proper muscle tension and grip tension to be able to perform well after that.
I struggle with that too. I mean, like
Everybody does.
Yeah, I feel the relaxation. Yeah.
Well, so it's like it's a natural thing. Like if you want to curl your bicep, right, your tricep's going to relax, and vice versa, right? So if you're gripping your hand, when you reset your trigger, when your trigger finger relaxes, the rest of your fingers want to too.
Yeah.
And you can overcome that with training, but it takes training, and it takes regular training. It's one of those things as it's a high entropy thing where if not attended, it'll start to mess up regularly, right? So you want to, be cognizant of it. And so there's times where you want to dry fire where you're focusing on that when your trigger finger resets, that these other fingers are staying tight. However you want it, and for me that's really tight. I like to have it really, really tight, probably tighter than anyone else in the world. So I'm not saying that that's the best thing, or it's certainly not the only thing, but whatever it is, you want to be aware that for your first shot, you want to have the same grip tension as what it is for your last shot. And you want that grip tension to be whatever it is that for you is ideal to be able to shoot the best you can all the way along.
Okay. Okay.
And that's not easy.
No.
That little part right there takes a lot of work. So that's what I like about rapid fire. There's all these little pieces that you can work on. There's all these building blocks that you can work on, where like an air pistol or a slow fire, it's just it's not one, there's like several things, but it's not nearly as complicated. So it's not nearly as many
it's very complex.
building blocks that add tangible benefits.
Yeah, and I think for new shooters, I mean, like myself, it can be pretty overwhelming. Because there's
if you try to take it all in at once.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But instead of looking at it like that, look at it like you had this big table of desserts, and you don't have to eat it all at once. I can start on this side of the table. I'm going to eat this chocolate-covered cherry, and I'm going to move on to the chocolate-covered blueberries, and I'm going to go to the chocolate cake, and then the brownie. So you can get piece by piece. And like I said yesterday, it's like climbing on the incline.
Yeah.
Like you get, when you start accomplishing these little tasks, you see objective improvements. Like well, I got better at this. My first shots are better. Like my grip is better throughout the series.
Yeah.
So you start. They might not. These little building blocks don't necessarily translate to a higher score right off the bat, but they'll add up, and then all of a sudden, the score will jump up.
Yeah.
And then you start getting better at those little building blocks, and then the score will jump up.
That's very encouraging.
So it doesn't happen all at once. The score is not something that comes up like with each individual improvement.
Yeah.
It's you're building like a foundation upon which you're going to build things that you can start to produce good scores with. And the more precisely you build that foundation in the beginning, I think the easier it will be in the long run.
Okay.
I was at a sports psych thing with the USOPC, several years ago, and they were talking about habits. And the thing about habits is your brain doesn't differentiate between a good habit and a bad habit. It's just a habit. Like your brain doesn't know the difference.
Right.
Good habit or bad habit.
Okay.
The difference is there's a lot more bad habits than what there is good habits. So that's why people think bad habits are harder to break and things like that, but they really aren't. How long does it take you to develop a habit, do you think?
Well, yesterday, what would you say, or is that mastery, the 10,000 hours? And
That's mastery. That's something different. This is the habit.
what is it?
Like if I was going to say,
they used to say buckle your seatbelt 40 times in a row, and you would do it
Did
for
they
the
say
rest of
that?
your life. Yeah. You never
that
heard
doesn't
that?
work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you don't buckle your seatbelt, that's a habit too.
I'm sure I
right?
buckle my seatbelt more than 40 times in a row. So the habit forming depends.
Yeah.
Is the answer. So if the habit is you wake up every morning, eat a piece of chocolate, how long do you think it takes to build that habit? If you eat a piece of chocolate, if you like chocolate, I like chocolate.
I like
obviously.
chocolate. Yeah.
Do something you really like, right? Whatever. 3 days. And then the habit is formed, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
Now, if you just wake up every morning and do 80 sit-ups,
Yeah.
what's the average it takes to build that habit? I think they said crunchers was what they did in the
I'm going to say 2 weeks
82 days.
because you don't like it.
Right. So
Some
somewhere
people
between
say that, like you tend to be, you know, you're good at things you like, right? Like,
But in shooting, you got to be good at everything, right? So, but you can attack these habits, but all that tells you is like, hey, I don't like having good follow through, right? Nobody likes follow through, right? But it's going to take a while to make it a habit, and because you don't like it, it's easy to break that habit because it only takes 3 days of not doing it, and then it's broken, right?
Right.
Because it's reversing. It's the same as so. So what that tells you is be prepared to, for some of these things, invest 82 days to build this particular habit or that habit. And then it's going to take maintenance, a little bit of maintenance to keep it built and to keep it solid. But once you have these habits built up, then it's like you do it during the match accidentally. Like you don't have to think about doing things the right way.
Right.
It becomes like, you know, like, you can go back as far as like, you know, hydration and diet, like what you eat, you know, before you shoot. That becomes second nature. It becomes automatic. You don't think about that after like a couple years of shooting bullseye. You don't worry about stuff like that.
No.
Like the high masters don't worry about stuff like that. They did in the beginning. Well, some of them did.
Yeah.
Some of them clearly didn't. But then you just get used to it. And then there are things like how you fill your magazine in bullseye or how you load your magazine or all those little additional things. Those are all habits that we form. And they took a while for these high masters to form, or masters, even sharpshooters, to form these types of habits. Some of them are good. Sharpshooters probably have a lot of bad habits.
Yeah.
But once they have them, they aren't thinking about them. So when they're shooting a match, unlike a new shooter, they aren't thinking about when they're going to fill their magazine.
No.
Like, so if I'm shooting a rapid fire match, I'm not thinking about like, you know, 8-second series load. Oh, I got to put 5 rounds in the magazine now. I don't think about
Boy,
that.
I was like,
yeah,
one,
no,
two.
Yeah, well,
three.
I actually still do that. I do one. Yeah, I use it as a way to just keep myself occupied.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm thinking about all sorts of stuff. So I'm like, but aside from that, like these things they're just little habits that you form. But once you build the foundation of these habits, then you can start focusing on the stuff that has the big improvements. But you have to build the foundation of like fundamentals first. It's a lot like sharpening a knife. And you use like, you know, you have to get, you know, like, so you have a knife that's like dull or something. Like, so I have this knife here, right? So it's like all dull, right? So I'm like, and it's not getting any sharper, but I'm getting that primary edge down, or I'm getting it where I can, now I get down after a while of working, right? Then I can break out, you know, a fine stone. And I can start.
That's a good analogy.
And I can start actually getting sharp. You know, where it actually gets sharp. Now, if I go to the fine stone too soon, I'm just polishing a round edge. Like I'm polishing this corner of the edge, and not getting to the actual edge. I'm going to be polishing forever to try to get it where it'll cut paper or shave hair or something. So you need to do the coarse work,
the hard work.
The hard work.
Yeah.
Or it's not that hard. Like follow through that hard. It's not like doing squats.
No.
Like it's just follow through. But it's the focus is what's hard. So being able to stay focused and do that, and do it independently. It's not like you have a coach on your back that's telling you you have to do this and you have to do this, and you can just give them the reins and let them tell you what to do. You have to be accountable to yourself and do it on your own.
Okay.
There's another thing I'll add, which I saw a couple times, and I'll forward you those. I'll email you or airdrop those videos.
Yeah, appreciate it.
But what is I think I've asked you this before, what is your definition of bad trigger control? Like normally I want to define things in a positive sense, but in this case I think it's more constructive to define trigger control or trigger in the negative.
I mean, I guess I would say it moves my sights off of alignment, right?
How?
Jerking.
Yeah. What's the definition? I mean, like, let's distill it down.
I'm not sure what kind of answer you're looking for.
I'm looking, what's the most basic fundamental thing that would define trigger controls? But it's not how fast you pull it, because in 4 seconds you were pulling it pretty damn fast. I mean, granted, it wasn't great trigger control. I mean, I'm just judging from the outcome. It probably wasn't that great, right? But let's say you shot like a 50 with like 4 X's, right?
Yeah.
In 4 seconds. So that'd be pretty good.
Pretty great.
You'd probably quit after that.
One day.
Right. I'd quit probably if I saw you do that. If I saw you do that today.
Yeah.
I see you do that, you know, a couple months, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But if you did that, then your trigger control is probably pretty good. But it's a third of a second, half second to like third of a second trigger control.
Yeah, it's not.
Right? It's not how fast you pull it.
It's not speed.
Now we all know you can pull a trigger, too slow.
Yeah.
Where you're like
pulling it off center,
get slow fire, like, and then you're like, you're thinking about, whatever, and then you shoot an 8.
Yeah.
In like bullseye or air pistol or something. So there's a limit to how slow you can do it, but not really how fast. So it's not how fast you do it. So is it straight to the rear? Is that important?
I mean, I think so.
Why?
Well, because if you put it straight to the low rear right or rear left, well, you're gonna take you off your alignment.
But you're aligning your sights as you move in the trigger, right?
Well, not today, but
Hypothetically, like, you know, in the ideal limit, right? You're aligning your sights. You're trying to align your sights the entire time that the trigger is moving, right?
Yes.
And it's moving at a consistent rate. So once the pressure builds, it builds at the same rate until the hammer falls. That's
Yeah.
like the definition of uninterrupted trigger, right?
yeah,
So if that's the case, you're pushing it to the side. It's not going to have any effect.
I feel like the dumbest person in the world right now because I'm not quite sure where we're headed.
Well, I didn't expect you to be, but I didn't expect you to be the dumbest person in the world either. But and you're not. You're asking all the right stuff. So my point is, we have these ideas about what bad trigger control is that aren't correct.
Okay.
Like pulling it straight to the rear, nothing to do with anything. On a TAS 35 free pistol, you can have the trigger adjust where you push it that way and it goes off. In fact, most of the Olympic champions who shot it had it where it went at a diagonal.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Olympic champions in free pistol,
Okay.
the most precise, pistol sport that there ever has been.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a false. The idea that you have to pull it slowly is false, right? So we've identified
So it's not
two.
speed and it's not direction.
Right.
Well, what is this?
Okay. So to describe it the way I'm going to describe it, let's backtrack a little bit. What aligns your sights?
I've heard people say your trigger, right? But
Well, we say that,
but I mean, I assume that it's my grip.
your grip aligns your sights.
Yeah.
Your position controls sight picture, right?
Yeah.
Can we agree on that? So your position, what your body's doing,
Yeah.
controls
When I
sight
say
picture.
grip, I guess
and
everything.
And what sight picture is where you're pointed. So that's why when you're shooting in rapid fire, I say aim with your back shoulder. So that's where you're pointed, right? Which is your sight picture. Sight alignment is where the pistol's pointed. So that's way more important. I want that to be pointed in the right direction. It doesn't matter as much of where I'm pointed. So sight alignment is the thing that is so critical. So what aligns your sights is your grip. Grip is what aligns the sights. So if your grip is aligning the sights, and then as you move your trigger, if any of these fingers fluctuate grip pressure whatsoever,
It's moving your.
what's happening to your sight alignment?
Well, it's jacked up.
See ya. Like by definition, right?
Well, yeah.
If grip aligns your sights, then the only way that you can move a trigger that's bad is if the trigger's moving in such a way, other than a negligent discharge or something, that would be bad, right? But the only way you can move your trigger bad or have bad trigger control is you move it in such a way that these other fingers in your grip fluctuate pressure. What that tells you now, if you dry fire with your eyes closed, and all you're doing is really paying attention to your grip pressure and grip pressure uniformity and all the pressures for all the different fingers, now after a while you can tell if your sights are misaligned with your eyes closed.
Because you can feel your other fingers moving.
Because you can feel the cause of it. So now we're attacking the source of bad trigger control instead of like the result. We aren't treating the symptom, we're treating the actual problem.
So it's not speed, it's not direction,
It's grip.
it's pulling the trigger affecting your grip. That is bad.
Or releasing the trigger affecting your grip.
Oh yeah.
Because what we said before, like
I've seen
when
that.
you release the trigger.
I've seen that in Dryfire.
Like in
Well,
right.
I'll let it out and I'll dip
Right. You have to
Yeah.
find a way through training, and it's possible, because a lot of people do it, where that part of it is isolated. So I like to think of it like when I pull the trigger is that, well, I don't play the piano or anything, I'm not coordinated at all.
Right.
So I want whatever my other fingers are doing, my trigger finger wants to do, right? So
Yeah.
I just let it squeeze with my other fingers, which are aligning the sights.
Yeah. So you're squeezing them all at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if these fingers are already squeezing it at 100%, well, they
Yeah.
can't squeeze any harder.
No.
So if this guy just wants to do what all his friends are doing, right?
Yeah,
So I'm just going to let him. And then it's uninterrupted perfect trigger control. Now, to address the idea of, straight to the rear, this is a common misconception.
Yeah.
If I have a trigger, right, say this is my trigger, right?
Yeah.
And there's a sear connection up here somewhere and all that kind of trash, and I'm pulling on it, and then it breaks. So when I say breaks, I mean that the sear has moved enough where the hammer or the striker or something is allowed to move, right?
Yeah.
And there's a movement. In engineering terms, what there is I'm applying a moment at that last moment. So now this is the sear now.
Okay.
Now if I'm pressing, actually this is your trigger finger. If I'm pressing on it and now all of a sudden, I remove that.
Yeah.
What happened to your trigger finger, or not your trigger finger, but your sear?
I mean,
Or
went forward.
Your trigger. Yeah, right. You added a moment to the gun at the very last second. This is why a lot of shooters want a really light trigger, because that's a smaller moment.
Yeah.
So if I have a really light trigger and then I say it's, well, my free pistol was 10 grams, but let's be more realistic. Let's say you had a trigger that was half a pound, right?
Yeah.
And I have a half a pound weight that is applied, and then I take it away in an instant. Well, that's only a half a pound disturbance. Now, if I have a 4 pound weight and I take it away, now it's a 4 pound disturbance. So how do you address that? Well, you have your overtravel stop. So if you have a trigger with 0 overtravel, in other words, your trigger's moving like this, where it's like, boom, and it stops.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no moment afterwards. I've heard some really good shooters think that they want to have no overtravel. I want my trigger finger just to zoom right through it. But the reality is, what happens is you're adding that little flick right when the
pressure's
trigger
totally
breaks.
gone.
Yeah.
There's no resistance anymore.
Right.
Right. Which
So-
would cause.
Well, which
additional-
causes people to say things. Well, you have to pull your trigger straight to the rear.
Yeah.
Because that way the moment's coming straight back. It's not going to affect sight alignment, that much. But the effective way to fix it is just to have 0 overtravel. If you have an electron trigger, that's the best. If they work, is the best solution.
Right.
But just have 0 overtravel. So that's what I wanted to cover with trigger.
Well, I appreciate that. I like that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So I mean, the big thing with triggers, I believe the way to train it is dry fire with your eyes closed.
Okay.
Because if we say that there's two types of trigger control, which is interrupted and uninterrupted, then if you have interrupted, is that the pressure's building and then something happens, the sights are misaligned, or you get distracted by a bird, or whatever the case may be, and you stop and hold, and then you start squeezing again, and that's bad for a number of reasons. I mean, every time you start and stop takes mental. Every time you change the motion of your trigger finger or change the amount of force that you're inputting on it, takes mental
In or
energy.
out, right?
Right. Yeah. Whether it's resetting it or whether you're pulling and stopping and then starting again, but the starting of it in particular is what we're talking about now. Takes mental energy, and that mental energy comes away from sight alignment. So if I put you on a scat or an ismit or something like that, and you watch your trace, I can tell when you start squeezing the trigger because there'll be a little loop in your trace. That little loop is because you stopped focusing, because it took that many bits per second of conscious thought to align your sights, and you didn't have enough to give to sight alignment because you had to give some of it to trigger. Once it's going, you can go back on sight alignment.
Yeah.
And then you're just aligning your sights as best as you can. That's why a lot of shooters will say, I still say trigger lines of sights and all this kind of stuff, but it really doesn't. What happens is the trigger starts moving. Zins would say that he'll pull the trigger and he pulls it into alignment and all that. What's really happening is he's always trying to align the sights, and it's okay if the sights are misaligned when the trigger starts moving, because he's confident that they're going to come back into alignment naturally because he's not thinking about trigger anymore.
Right.
Once the trigger starts moving, especially with a long roll, you can do that.
Yeah.
But with a crisp trigger, you can too. Once the pressure starts to build, if you've trained, you stop thinking about that, and now you're thinking about trying to align your sights as best as you can. And then you wait for the surprise shot or whatever.
And
now
so
in
when
rapid fire,
so if you're So if you're dry firing with your eyes closed, you're really just paying attention to what's happening
when you
to your
dry fire with
grip.
your eyes closed, you have one of two goals, which is a mission, what I'm trying to accomplish, right? This is the thing I'm trying to do. The first thing you're trying to do is, once the pressure builds on the trigger, it builds at the same rate till the hammer falls. So it's uninterrupted, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. I say it's pretty easy, but it's hard for us all to do it, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
The second thing, and I would train this probably a little bit more, is making sure that the other fingers don't fluctuate pressure whatsoever.
Okay.
And if you do this for a week, what will happen is after a week, you'll be like, damn it, Sanderson, I'm getting worse at it. Now I feel all sorts of movement. And then you'll be like, oh, I get it. The movement was there before.
It was always there. Now I'm just paying attention.
Now I'm just sensitive enough. As it takes about a week to get sensitive enough where you can start to feel all of it. But once you can identify that problem, now you can start to address it and fix it.
Where in that 1 minute, so that 1 minute prep, so let's say you've done the whole thing, like you're in and you're out. When do you reach your 100% grip pressure? Do you have it there the whole time, even while you're loading the gun, or do you load it and then pull the bolt and then?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So for me, well, I'll backtrack first, and I'll say, like in bullseye for slow fire, because then now there's more flexibility and stuff. You can do whatever you want, like whenever you want within a 10-minute slow fire period. There was different times in my life. So there are times where I would get my grip, and it would take a certain period of time for it to stabilize. So in other words, if I was like coming down, I couldn't start gripping then, because then by the time my grip got stable, my arm wouldn't be stable anymore. I wouldn't have that window of opportunity for my position, because my grip just took longer to get to stability than what my position did.
Yeah.
And my position wouldn't last that long. And there are other times where, because of, injuries to my arm or whatever, but I couldn't maintain a really hard grip that was steady for very long periods of time. So I would, as I was settling down, I would start to grip harder. But I could get to that steadiness like really, really quickly, right? So it depends on where you are personally in your training, and it's not like one size fits all, and it's not like one way of doing it now is going to work for you forever. You have to be aware of what your body's doing on that day. Usually, it's in a span of like months and years. Like months, I think is normal, maybe weeks resolution, where like, well, now my grip takes longer to get steady, or it gets steady really quick but doesn't last very long, or it gets steady really quick and lasts a long time, which would be, is what you want, but it doesn't always work that way. So you adjust it to try to find where your grip is at, it's whatever the full strength is, and stable and steady, within a window of opportunity. So you want to have that, where you're maximizing that window of opportunity in your aiming area. So that way all the other windows of opportunity, like how steady you can hold your position, how long it takes you to settle and then hold, and how long you can hold steady, and then there's your trigger window of opportunity, which you're not going to pull the trigger for like 10 minutes. It's gonna be somewhere between a third of a second and like probably like 4 or 5 seconds or something. And then your eyes, like if you're shooting iron sights, if it's a sunny day out, you can't look for very long. Like with me, I'm sensitive to bright light. I got to launch a shot pretty quick if it's bright out. But if it's an overcast day, I can stare a little bit longer. So that window of opportunity for my eyesight is a little bit bigger. If I'm shooting with a dot, I can stare at that thing for like
forever.
For like 2 minutes. I've held. Well, I do lots of holding drills. So there's been times like at Perry this year. This one time I held for like 2 minutes in slow fire and shot an X.
That's awesome.
But I trained for that, and it was windy out, and I was just waiting for a lull. I'm going to wait up here. This part of me is strong. Like my wrist right now, my forearm isn't very strong right now, but my shoulder's strong. Yeah. So now in rapid fire, now you have to have those window of opportunities at the line up really, really tightly. Because you're going to go right when they tell you to go. There is no, like in 4 seconds, you can't wait a tenth of a second. Like in bullseye rapid fire, I mean, I've waited 2 seconds before I start squeezing, after the target's faced. Yeah. Because I can get away with that. I don't recommend anyone do that, but I've got away with that before. In international rapid fire, particularly in a 4 second series, you don't have a tenth of a second. You've got to start moving right away. Yeah. And everything has to start going right away. So with me, what I do is I'll get my grip either, when I lift the gun up, or when I'm coming. If I'm feeling weak, then I'll get it later in the game. So as I'm settling more, as my sights are coming into alignment. So when I'm settling, where I come up where I set my rotator cuff, where I'm up and over like most pistol shooters do, and I keep everything in here tight. And then I'll lower, as I'm lowering it, I get my grip really, really, really tight while bringing my sights into alignment. So that way there's a coordination there between, I think.
And then nothing changes, and then you take the 45.
Well, when you go down to 45, ideally you're adding muscle tension, you're not taking away muscle tension. So like there's the natural, exactly. There's
really
this
hard to get your head
instinct,
around,
there's this instinct, not instinct, it's like if you want to contract one muscle, then the opposite muscle will relax. So if you want to pull your arm down, then the muscles holding your arm up want to relax. But it's just like an isometric exercise. You can train yourself where you keep them both activated. You're going to lose a little bit of that activation, for when it's up here like this. When you're lowering it, you'll lose a little bit of it. Yeah. You can't help that. But you're trying to minimize how much of that you lose by keeping as much of that muscle tension as possible. Okay. And then down here, it's like that coiled spring or whatever. So you still have that muscle tension here your arm wants to be up here. Yeah. So now you're kind of like releasing
the 45.
it.
You want
right. It wants. That's why like in sport pistol rapid fire, I say you want to have really good follow through. You want to spend most of your time aiming at the target. This is where you want to be, and it's hardly any time that it's down here, because this should be uncomfortable. Like you don't want to be here. It wants to be up here. Having said that, you're not throwing the arm up there. It's like a soft start, and glide or a soft start, and you kind of glide in.
Yeah.
So it's very much like in USPSA when you're moving and shooting.
Okay.
So if you're moving from position A to position B to shoot or whatever, you don't it's not a jerky start. You want a soft exit and glide in. That's when you're at the fastest.
Yeah.
All the IPSC shooters know this. The lift is the same. It happens to be the same thing.
Okay.
So soft start and glide. And if you think about it, like if you just try it, like if I go like this, boom. How long was that? That was me going slow.
Yeah.
That's like a 1.3 second lift. That's really, really fast, right? So like when you have a gun in your hand, it might slow you down a little bit, and there is a little bit of hesitation when you get to like level.
Yeah,
But
I've noticed that. Like I'll be in my office or in my wherever, not with a gun in my hand. I'm just kind of doing this, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill this. I'm really good at this. And then you put a 2-pound gun in your hand, and you're like, oh Jesus, this is
Yeah.
like,
I used to do when I was on the Marine Corps team, when we would do our team runs or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I would call the commands, or the cadence or whatever, I'd have everyone do arms up, and they had to run like this for we'd do like 100 yards and then arms down, and for like 100 yards and arms up, and that wears you out. It feels like you're going uphill.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, and you have to keep it real, real tight, like make fists or whatever, and then so I still do this now sometimes, but I'll do that like this, but I'll go like this, and I'll when I'm running.
I appreciate you telling me.
I don't know how useful that is.
That I did not have to have my hand lowered or have my gun lowered when the red light went on, because I would have done that otherwise.
Right. A lot of people still do that.
That's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time, and if you spend it down there, what's going to happen is you're inevitably going to turn off this activation or whatever is going to get less and less.
Yeah.
And if you looked at me, I wasn't down there for very long at all.
No.
I could have been down there a little bit longer in hindsight, as I'm usually hypercritical of
I actually
myself.
recorded your second series. Yeah, and I'm going to use that to
great.
watch.
It was good. I should have shot a good one then.
No, you didn't do it. It doesn't show the score. I just wanted to see your body position and all that.
It was only
stuff.
a 48. But it was a 4-hit series. Like in the final, it was like a 9-9 and like a 9-4.
Well, I was impressed.
It's okay. I'd be satisfied with that if the rest of my scores would have been, or the first. I didn't warm up for the first half. We didn't talk about warming up. So because you already warmed up because you shot sport pistol.
Maybe a little too much.
You almost certainly you did,
Yeah.
right? If nothing else, it's hard to digest that much stuff. Imagine like the buffet table of desserts we talked about earlier. Now you're
I ate them all.
You're like throwing up, like, oh god, this is no longer fun.
No more.
Because yeah.
No
So
more cannoli.
that's you can't. It's hard to keep. And
Yeah, I think if I did it again, I
good
would probably
information.
do either just air and rapid or sport and rapid. And
Sport and rapid works out pretty good as it's the same gun, but air and rapid, you get that break in between, which is really useful.
Yeah.
That break is really useful.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, like, on a normal training, I mean, back in the day, I used to train 1,000 rounds a day, like 6 days a week, with a lot of dry fire. But I was training for like 10 hours a day. I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think you're in your 20s anymore.
You don't have to do that.
have
That was
that.
when I was in my 30s.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I didn't start rapid fire until I was in my 30s.
Pretty good brag.
Ennis used to shoot like 3,000 rounds a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah, he'd break guns. He'd wear guns out in a week. Like a brand new gun, it was deadlined.
That's awesome.
From being shot out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so is his shoulder and his neck, and yeah,
I
you don't need to shoot that much.
No, I need some ibuprofen and a little ice tonight.
Yeah, as far as training volumes go, I don't think you need to shoot. So I don't know. So if you run 5K, 3.1 miles as an Olympic event, right?
Yeah.
Those guys train. How many miles a week do you think that those guys run?
50.
50.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Is it? Well, I'm just.
120.
Wow.
Yeah. And like not a single mile slower than a 5-minute pace.
Jeez.
Yeah. They
That's
run
great.
a lot. So if you're a swimmer who races 100 meters, you're not going to swim 100 meters a day. You're gonna,
Right.
So now, I don't think that was the mentality I used when I shot over 1,000 rounds a day.
Yeah.
I don't think you should do that. That was too much. But you probably need to shoot on most days, away from a match at least, multiple times the volume that you're going to shoot in the match.
Yeah.
In bullseye, it's easy. You just shoot short line. Never shoot long line. Just get your zeros on long line and shoot some bullseye matches, and that's all the long line shooting. In dry fire, only long line training you ever need. Everything else should be short line.
So do you still feel that the ratio of dry fire to live fire should be 100 to 1? I remember you saying that in the video.
Yeah, I was fibbing a little bit in that video.
Yeah, I assume you were just trying to make a point.
Right? Yeah. What I was thinking at the time was 10,000 to 1.
Oh.
I'm actually not joking. That's at that time. When I was both times I was #1 in the world. It was 10,000 to 1.
Oh, Jesus.
And I could track that objectively because it took the Pardini said you had to change the batteries every 100,000 rounds. I had to change the batteries 4 times in like 6 months, and I shot only 400 rounds.
This is great. Well, I'm not going to spend much on ammo.
You don't need to, is the thing. Now, ammo companies don't want me to. Lapua doesn't want me to tell you that.
I'll buy some Lapua, don't worry. Make up for the difference.
Yeah, I think for 8 seconds, dry fire is all you need to shoot. I mean, with a minimal amount of confirmation.
Yeah.
Like you need the experience to know, other than me telling you or a book telling you that this produces a result. You need the first-hand experience, like, hey, dry fire does help. That positive reinforcement, which doesn't come immediately.
Yeah.
It takes a while, but when you see the fruits of the stuff that you planted, it's pretty cool. And then it gets easier to dry fire. And then it's easier to overdo it, right? Like I had my forearm surgery because I was dry firing too much.
Jeez.
I wasn't shooting live rounds. I was overtraining from dry fire. It wasn't from shooting hard ball. It was dry firing a 22.
That's great.
But it was a significant amount. I don't think you need to do that much. Typically, what I think you should do is you should warm up in the morning with dry fire, and that's where when you lifted a couple times when you were dry firing, you probably went click, and you clicked early. In the Olympics, right before the Olympic champion shoots, when he's warming up, his first warm up of the day might go click. That's why he's warming up.
Yeah.
It's okay, because it's just a dry fire style. You're going to work through that really. Now, in the beginning, it takes longer to work through that. But once you get experience, it might happen like once or twice. You might come up and like wait too long. But then you get your timing within like 1 or 2 times. But, so usually the average person's between 20 to 40 minutes of warm up of dry fire. Okay. Not a lot of dry fire, but just evenly spaced out, like lots of breaks, getting your body loose but really like getting the I don't want to say, it's like a coordination. I hate that word because I'm not coordinated, but it's just getting everything used to working together. Yeah. It's almost like a symphony when they warm up and all the different instruments are doing a whole bunch of different things. That's what your warm up is. It's just getting you used to doing things, not overdoing it. Right, just getting you ready to shoot. So a good way to plan for that, like, well, how do I know what I got to plan beforehand? Because I got to backtrack from the start time. They aren't going to start 15 minutes after I'm done warming up.
Right.
I got to figure that out beforehand. So what you do is you just go before a training session. It's like, okay, when they're completely cold, all right, I'm gonna start dry firing, and then at the point that you feel like I'm ready to shoot right now, like I'm ready to shoot really good, write it down. Like, oh, this was 10 minutes and 30 seconds, or this was 15 minutes and 7 seconds, or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
And then you do that over a course of like months, and then, yeah, we're good. And then you find out what your average is, and then what the upper end of your average. You always want to give yourself a little bit more time. In a match, you're always going to seem like you need more time anyway. So for me, it was like I had 2 warm-up plans. It was either 20 minutes or like 45 minutes. It was one or the other. After 20 minutes, I had to take a break. I'd take like 10 minutes off where I wouldn't touch the guns. It didn't matter if I dry fired during that 10 minutes or I didn't dry fire. It just didn't make a difference. And then after I'm done warming up, I like to have between 10 and 20 minutes before I actually shoot. So once you know, let's say you need 17 minutes to warm up. Well, plus 10 is 27 minutes. We can round up to 30 minutes. So that means you start warming up 30 minutes before you get called to the line. Okay. And then you'll be fine. And then train for that. And then you write that down, especially like when you want to track how long it takes you to warm up, and then your breaks between when you're done warming up and when you start shooting, that will have some variability in it because sometimes the match runs a little bit slow or whatever. It might be longer than what was expected or whatever. And write down in that. So you might find an ideal spot for there. It might be you might want a shorter, like a 5-minute span. You need to give yourself time to get from a warm-up area to the firing line. Okay. Right? Which is minimum.
It's not like this. It's not like
no. In a World Cup, you might have to walk like 200 meters, right?
Yeah.
So in London Olympics, it was like you had to walk it was like 400 meters from the warm-up area to where the range was. right? So you want to account for that. So it's a minimum of 5 minutes time, and you probably want to give yourself more than that. So I'd say 10 to like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it might be it's like half an hour. It's probably not more than half an hour, but test it, you know. And then after you're done, and then you know, we aren't talking about a match now. Now we're talking about just training. So you warm up, you train, whatever you're going to work on, you're training. There'll be a certain part, if you have a whole day dedicated, like if you're a professional athlete, you have the whole day, you know, I'm going to train them, you know, I've a whole case of ammo, I'm going to shoot. And you have good quality training to a certain point. And then there's a certain point where I can train more, but it's not going to help me out any.
Yeah.
But it's not going to hurt me any. And then there's a certain point where you train more, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's just like working out. Like if you were to do like bench press or something,
Right.
you could do like, you know, oh, I'm going to do 3 sets of however many reps. Then you can do 4 sets. That's going to add a little bit to it. Do 5 sets. Okay, that's kind of good. It's debatable whether it adds a whole lot. 6 sets. It's not adding anything to you. You're not helping yourself out any. 7 sets. 8. Now you're just looking at getting injured.
Right.
You're now. So shooting is the same thing. There'll be a certain point where it's not constructive.
Okay.
And that point is probably sooner than what you think.
Okay.
At that point, you transition into dry fire. Because now in dry fire, I can extend it a little bit more and get a lot more training in because now the recoil isn't covering up those mistakes. I can see all those mistakes. So now you have a really good, so now you can be really critical, make sure everything is doing it the right way, make sure you can focus on other drills, like really good follow through without the distraction of like recoil and things like that, and take a little bit longer breaks. But now what it should feel like is that it gets harder and harder and harder as that dry fire period progresses, and it should. If it's not, you're going through the motions, which is bad training. You don't want to. You can't just go through the motions. It has to get harder and harder and harder. And I say harder and harder and harder because it's getting harder for you to focus at the level you need to produce good results. Because it is getting harder. You're getting tired, and you know it's harder for you to focus. It's very much like if you work range operations for a living, which I do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day is when everyone gets hurt. That's when if you're working range operations, you have to up the ante, and you got to like pay extra attention and work extra hard so no one gets hurt. In this case, no one's getting hurt. It's your technique is going to get hurt. So you want to, at the end of it, and there'll be a certain point where you just can't push anymore, and that's when it's time to stop.
Okay.
And then you can finish with a hold and drill because that doesn't take it. It's physically hard, mentally a little bit hard, but it's not like dry fire. A hold and drill is just it's you could add a couple of those in the end and add even more to it. But then it's time to quit. And I also like to think that typically on a high volume training day, whatever that is for you personally, is followed by at least 1 full day off where you don't touch the gun.
Okay.
At least.
After a full training day?
After a high volume day. Whatever high volume for you might be 200 rounds.
Yeah.
It might be 2,000 rounds. I don't know. 2,000 rounds is kind of excessive. But for me, it was like, you know. But I found that out on accident before when I had those 1,000 round a day, you know, and then I'd have like a dental appointment or some other stuff where I couldn't shoot the next day. And the next day I'd come back and I would shoot better. But if I shot 1,000 rounds each day, I wasn't shooting as good.
Right.
I was shooting good, but I wasn't improving. But the improvements would come with the days off. So you want to start programming in like the days off are really important. So typically like low volume days, which approach match volume a little bit higher, match volume to like double match volume, you can do those like 3 days in a row. Every now and then you want to push it to like 4 days in a row just to make sure you can. So if you're doing something like Camp Pear or something like that, you have that kind of endurance. But on average, like 90% of the time, 3 days in a row max for a match volume to double match volume. Then you go from double match volume to like 5 times match volume with like a mid volume day or whatever.
Yeah.
You like 2 days in a row, and then 1 or 2 days off.
Okay.
And then a high volume day is every other day or every third day or something like that. Could be very effective.
Well, I'm happy that I'm recording this because I can't possibly remember all of this good information.
Sorry, it's not more coherent.
No, I love it. I love it. Keith, you've been incredibly generous with your time, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for
Anytime, man.
Thanks for showing me around.
Dude, thanks for shooting rapid fire.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The funnest.
Go
yet
shoot rapid
hardest.
fire.
Yeah, it's the hardest of the shooting sports. I'm biased a little bit. I think it's hard.
But it is.
But it's rewarding.
It is unquestionably the most fun.
Yeah, wait till you get to the Olympics. Yeah, it's not fun at the Olympics. It's fun after the Olympics. Like when you're getting there, it's a lot of like stress. It's a lot of terror and vertigo, and all those things that come with high stress.
All right.
Like for you today, you didn't have any stress shooting.
Yeah, right.
Everyone was looking at me. Like
right.
I had to come in top.
I definitely
like,
had stress.
But nobody was looking at you.
No, they weren't.
But they were
I
looking
was looking at me.
Right, right.
Yeah, I was
looking at you too.
Yeah.
But other than me. But
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
sure, anytime. Man.
Thank you so much, Keith.
And good luck.
Yeah. I mean, I hit the target.